popular and scientifically equipped center. Another thing which I am struck with this Manav Seva Sangh, and this is a very ironic fact and a shame on me, I have never entered into that ashram. I have passed by that million times, but unfortunately I have never entered. And that speaks on my knowledge of Vrindavan. But one knowledge which I have grown with, that this is the ashram of Guru Sharananandji, who was visually challenged.
Yes, he was.
But he was a master teacher. This was not as a kind of old age home, but it was a great school. A school of learning and education about life. More than that, although the prayer is centered about death, but what I hear about him, and many of my friends and known people have been living in that ashram, they said he was like an encyclopedia. People will go with the divorce problem, with the child care problem, with this problem, with separation in the families, and all the worldly matters, and scriptural matters, and political matters, and religious matters, and literary matters, and he was like an encyclopedia. Without referring to anything, he would satisfy people. And that ashram as a huge institution of education, a very comprehensive education, and I think Guru Sharananandji Maharaj, I think he was a very classic example of that. Thank you.
Pardon my very elementary and basic question. There is no doubt that everybody is getting old and so on and so forth. But the very concept, is there a need for an old age home? Because as I understand, which I have seen in Tibet, in Afghanistan, and on all Indian monasteries, and also Vrindavan, I think we went 2 weeks back, that it is the responsibility of the new generation to look after the elderly people. The very fact that when you separate an old person, he doesn't need very much medicines. He needs, and I've seen in Goa also, it's called in Spanish Latin, Proveeduría Asistencia Pública, the provision for public assistance. Even when Goa entered the Indian Union, before that there were these old age homes. Mother Teresa went there also. And they only want to die in dignity. But the moment you separate the old grandmother from her grandchildren, I think that it is a spiritual death. So, I think the very fact, it's a Western concept, that in the monasteries and so on, nuns are separated, monks are separated and they die in dignity there. But in the Indian home, in one ashram, or what you call Grast ashram, one of my gurus was a Grast, very ordinary person, and he lived as this thing, and he left his body about 50 years back. Swami Talan's this thing. I have never seen Swami Talanji. So would it be necessary in the Indian context, I am talking of today, in the global India, to create these homes? I have seen one in Haryana, very good, all the modern gadgets, and the boy who's doing very well in America sends her a lot of money, but she cries. She's not interested in dollars. She's there, we all go and sit with her, but I am very much totally against this concept of separate. If a person wants to die, I've seen the old 93-year-old monk, when the Chinese went and started to destroy this monastery, he said, this body means nothing. I happened to be the Indian head of mission at that time, and I protested. I said, why are you wearing, he was smoking in the monastery. They said, let them do it. The body means nothing to him. At that midnight, they tied him to a tree, and he reached the Rumtek monastery. How a 93-year-old man can leave alive, giving the Indian guards and the Chinese guards. So, would you say whether there's a need for? If there's a need, of course, we all give. This is a basic question.
Meenakshi, would you prefer one more question on this?
Meenakshi, thank you. The point I wanted to make, I know you didn't have space to do this in the paper, just picking up on Pralad's final point there about what's Hindu about this in particular. I wonder if you could reflect a little bit on the comparison that you're making between this particular ashram and the old age people's home in Ashram that you mentioned.
Sure.
And just in relation to that, one thing I'm particularly interested in is, of course, in the West, old age homes are part of a very fiercely competitive market. So what I wondered was whether you felt that the Manushi Seva Sangh ashram was itself part of a market in India, and how that affected the way it was operating.
Okay. Now, let me first suggest your concern. You've said that what is Hindu about aging in a Manaseva Sangha ashram? Well, not in the Hindutva sense of Hindu, but as a everyday living as a Hindu. Like organizing your meals according to the lunar movements. You know, Ekadashi will not eat this because, Shiva, there is a special chanting for Shiva has to be organized, a special day has to be devoted to Krishna. I think that's Hindu about aging in an ashram. And we've seen various elderly people in the homes